Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and one thing I love more than Kickstart creators is when they have success and then they come back on the show to talk about the next book. Case in point, Mr. David Taylor, may welcome return, sir.
Hello, nice to see you again, Johnny.
Indeed. You're looking very, very dapper there. Your
Thank
art,
you.
cool art in the background. Check it out. Yes, cool.
Yeah, I think last I was in the living room, and this time I moved in my space, can have some of the original art up. Always like to show off nice pieces, so it's nice to have them back behind me.
Cool. It's kind of like I keep doing these. I'm going to get like through the keyholes type of thing. You know, like who lives in a house like this?
Yeah, actually, like imagine like what you could tell about someone by looking at their collection of comic art, like what things they like. There's a personality thing in there potentially.
Hang on. Let's have a look. So I've got a Batman 66 cover.
Nice.
I've got a Secret Invasion Miss Marvel. That's the Carol Danvers Miss Marvel cover. My wife paid someone to do a sexy Catwoman Wonder Woman thing, but really it's just a lift from the Gwilla March Gotham Sirens book number 1. Yeah, and I've got a Ed Ben's Justice League canvas kicking around. That's it.
Nice.
So that's all I've got. Right. Is that it? Yeah, loads of figures stuck on walls. So there you go.
So I've got a few. I've got a Steve Pugh page from Saint of Killers.
Right, okay. You're
Germany.
way cooler than mine.
I've got a Matt Hollingsworth, I think his name, page from Hellblazer, from the Jimmy Delano run. There's that over there. There's the Twin Peaks one, which is like a limited edition print. I've got a Mike Avon-Omen on that wall, which my friends got me for my 40th. One of the loveliest gifts I've ever had. And then a Joelle Jones.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
Hang on a second, let's just make that big. There you go. Yeah. Joelle Jones, she is an absolute star.
Do you want to bring it back up? Sorry, you had the screen zoomed in and it went away.
It's cool. Yeah. We'll work out timing later. I loved her Lady Killer stuff. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I love it. And although there's an embarrassment. So I met her at Thought Bubble a couple of years ago. And I was so excited because I just love her stuff. She's amazing. And I went up to the table to get my book signed. And I was like, "Oh, Joelle, it's so nice to meet you. I really love your stuff. You're so good. It's really good. It's been such an inspiration." And you just see her eyes getting wider and wider. Like, what's wrong with him? I was just overwhelmed, and I went back to my table. And my girl said, "I just fanboyed and I've embarrassed myself forever." And she's like, "Well, it probably wasn't that bad." I'm like, "You weren't there. You weren't there when it's like, we don't need that in life." But yeah, I love Joelle. There's more Lady Killer coming apparently, so I'm looking forward to that.
I think no disrespect to Joelle Jones because she is fantastic, but I think she needs to stick to like the indie stuff because the Catwoman DC did it wrong with Catwoman. I thought DC do not know what they're doing with that book. They don't know what they're doing with the character. So Joelle Jones, you think, is a perfect fit. But then, I don't know if it was editorial or if it's on the back of the Batcat wedding that fell through. It just didn't gel very well. And then she did the Wonder Girl book, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think she's one of those creators that I generally think every creator, if artists, writers in particular, should be doing their own stuff. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be working on like big two characters. I just don't think. I get why. It's obviously like money wise, it makes perfect sense. It's a good living. So if I was in the same position, I'm being offered like $300 a page, I'm probably going to take that. But like in terms of like your work, her own stuff's so much more interesting. I'd rather see you do more of that.
That's a really great point. I mean, especially if you're working with big two characters, people come into those books. Readers come into those books with expectations, right? You know, so you go to Catwoman, you expect a certain thing. whether rightly or wrongly, you expect a certain thing, and
Yeah.
when you don't get it, you're kind of like, what? What's this?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's just disappointing. I was thinking,
mm,
I was speaking to someone. I was at a Comic Con at the weekend, and one was talking to me that he really loves Batman, but really specifically 1980s Batman.
oh yeah.
That's all he wants. He wants like the Norm Brayfogle, although he was kind of 90s, but Brayfogle, Jim Aparo.
Jim Apato's my Batman.
Yeah, right. So, but it was Batman on his own. It was
Mhm.
without the main cast, certainly late 80s, without the cast, the characters, and I've got to be honest, I like that Batman. I like the Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil, Dick Giordano Batman. I like him being moody and grim.
Mm.
So like modern Batman, like it just does nothing for me because I'm like,
Mm.
you've got this kind of melodrama and all this cast of characters, and I just like crime stories
Mm.
with a guy in a cape battering people. That speaks to me. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem. What you said though, if you go in with that expectation, so those books are never going to work for me now.
Mm.
They're too complicated, or there's too much going on for what I'm looking for. But for someone else, maybe that's what they discover. Maybe it's like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Court of Owls is the first thing they discover.
Mm.
You go back to the kind of the 70s, 80s stuff, you're like, I don't get this.
Mm.
So maybe it's that. Although I do think that stuff's better. So.
It's funny if we digress from comic books a bit. If you think about the time you start following your first football team or your first sports team, that team that you follow for the very first time, they're the best team of all. You talk about people who like UFC, they talk about Chuck Liddell. People who like UFC now talk about Conor McGregor. For people like me who've been around a while and we've seen the Chuck Liddells and we've seen the Conor McGregors and we've seen the next guy, or the Dan Marinos and the Joe Montanas in the NFL and stuff.
Yeah.
So it is hard to kind of get yourself out of that kind of niche viewpoint.
I think so. And I think like in everything, music, comics, wrestling, boxing, any combat sport, who you grew up with, who makes that first impression on you is the person you keep coming back to.
Yeah.
And it will never feel the same. It's like whenever I see someone posting, oh, like bands today are terrible. No, they're not. There's plenty of great bands.
Yeah.
They're not your bands though. They're just not your bands. You have grown out of those bands. So you've grown with the bands that you're with.
Yeah.
And these bands aren't for you. They're not for you. It's fine. Let it go.
I managed to avoid a Twitter argument by the thinnest of margins. Someone put on Twitter, these new Star Wars movies suck. They're not real Star Wars. They're not my Star Wars. And I was like, okay, you know what? I hear that a lot off Star Wars fans. And then that's when my tweet started. Just so you know, Star Wars has been and always will be a kid's movie. So when you first watched it back in the 70s, you were probably a kid. Now that you've grown up, your taste in cinema has changed, and you want complicated stories. You want the angst to be real. You want the travel time from one place to another to make sense. Kids don't care about any of that. They just want to see the blasters and the lightsabers. And I was in the process of sending it, and you have that moment where you pause and you think, if I send this, that's my weekend gone defending this. Deleted it back and just let it go. And it's funny because somebody wanted me to watch the new Young Jedi cartoon. It's aimed squarely at kids. I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not doing it. But in the process of watching the trailer, my wife came across Rebels. And she was like, what's this? I was like, oh, well, it's Rebels. It's Star Wars. She absolutely loves it. She's like hooked. And I think, well, that's perfect. That's a new show for a new person who's gone in with an open mind and absolutely loves it. So it's crazy.
And I mean, we'll go to the comics in a second, but I find the thing about Star Wars really interesting. So I'm not a fan. I watched them as a kid. They didn't stick with me, and I've got I get that people love them, but they just don't resonate for me. And I've watched almost all of them.
Yeah,
but I never feel that love. And like what you said there, and one of my best friends says this to me a lot as well. They were kids' movies. They were adolescent movies. That's not a bad thing.
No.
But what I notice when I see the criticism of like the most recent trilogy, and they've got flaws as movies. I don't think anybody would argue otherwise.
No.
Like none of them are perfect. I do think Rian Johnson's one is the best of the three of the new ones, but that's because I like his films, and I think lots of things about that. But it's unfair as an adult to come back to something you enjoyed as a kid and try and apply your modern taste to it.
Agreed.
Because look at that going, oh, it's got none of the nuanced drama. The originals didn't have that.
You're absolutely right. It's just
Yeah.
pure Holcomb.
Yeah,
So
and they're fun. Sorry. Anyway, sorry.
you led me to a question. You're absolutely right. They are fun, but then you're a writer artist yourself. So then you've got this, like, you've got to carry the burden, because you're not only are your personal taste in changing and what you want to watch or what you want to read, your taste in creating must also change, surely.
Yeah. I mean, when I started making comics like 6-7 years ago or whatever it was, the way I started, I brought a lot more of what I was reading then. I brought a lot more of just where I was in my life. I was living in a different country. I was kind of feeling fed up with all sorts of things. And then, when I time was working on my next book, I'd fixed a lot of stuff about myself. I felt happier. And that came through in the books. Like Decades, my first book, is super bleak. It's such a bleak story. And like everything about how I present it, what the characters go through. And it was funny when I went back to remaster it, because it was reading my old self and then trying to interpret that through who I am now.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. You kind of go like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But then I go back like, that's who I was.
Yeah.
Some of it was more complex than I'd remembered. Some of it was like, oh, that's a bit obvious. Probably shouldn't have done that. And I think that's an important thing. But yeah, you're always changing. You're always absorbing something new. And the stuff that used to be like my major influences probably isn't anymore. I think every creator that initially starts like, I want to be like someone. There's someone that inspired you, made you want to do it. Whereas now, and I'm not saying I'm over that, there's still people I love and I wish I could do things like, but broadly, I'm kind of like, I'd rather just explore my own weird space and do that. And that changes things as well, because then you start thinking other stuff and you want to try stuff that no one else has tried. I don't know if I'll get there, but it's a nice experience trying to do it.
It's interesting when you say that people start getting the comics with the idea of they want to be like someone. I often find myself writing reviews about art or writing, and I'll say something like, oh, the art is reminiscent of, and I'll have to put somebody in there. And I sometimes think to myself, am I being lazy as a reviewer? Am I not getting it? And then I kind of defend it and think to myself, well, no, actually what I'm doing, I'm giving this, the person who reads the review, I'm giving you a point of reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've had the privilege of reading the book already. Someone reading the review might be heading off down to the comic book shop that day, and I'm going to buy a comic book. What do I want? And if I can turn around and say, well, hey, if you like Frank Miller, then this is the book for you. It depends which circle Frank Miller we're talking about, of course, because
there's a lot of ground there potentially.
Let's just leave. I should have picked a different character, but different right. But Frank Miller, some of his stuff is fantastic. Yeah, and I'll just leave that there.
When people pick up Decades in particular, they will often say, "Oh, do you like Frank Miller?" And like the answer was, "Yeah, yeah, I do." At least that era of him. And it's like, so I don't think it's lazy at all. I think it's helpful, and I think it's healthy if you can see where you sit. This is like really kind of crass marketing bit. You need to understand who you sit with if you're going to sell products, because the reality is like your Frank Millers, your Mark Millers, all these sorts of people where I have a foot in some of the things they do, but I do believe, funny enough, my editor Claire was saying that you might not like their stuff, but you probably like mine. But if you like their stuff, you probably also like mine, because there's things I bring to it. And I think it's helpful to be able to kind of put yourself in that context. And it's only bad if like you're being compared lazily to someone.
Yeah.
So someone like, if again using Frank Miller, if like someone uses a lot of heavy black and white, go, oh, it's very reminiscent of Frank Miller. Well, that could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to be a little bit. You're absolutely right. So you have to be descriptive of why it reminds you of. Look at some of your art, looking at the background that we've got going on there. Some of those, albeit with the colours involved in this case, some of it, the way the rain's hitting the character, I'm thinking Sin City all the way through. And I'm like, I can see how the Sin City could look like that. But Sin City is its own beast. But then the picture we've got, I'll see if I've got it to hand. It's like a pugilist type of pose, and you kind of, I think to myself, I can see how that potentially could be something like a Frank Miller-esque. The thing that you've absolutely resonated with is you've got, because your work, I think, if you like Frank Miller, you like your work. It depends. And if you don't like Frank Miller, it means you don't like his later stuff, not his early stuff.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So when we say you like, I think when people talk about certain creators, it goes without saying the era we're talking about. If we turn around and say we like John Byrne, we're talking X-Men, Fantastic Four.
Yep.
We're probably not talking Alpha Flight or Next Men.
Probably not. A little bit less likely, I suspect.
Yeah, cool. It's fine. And yeah, enough about those has-beens. Let's talk about you. Let's get some new stuff going on. All right, you've got a video. You've been kind enough to give me preview access to your Kickstarter, which starts on May 13th. And of course, Kickstarters come with a video. We all like a little bit of a video, so let's get this rocking and rolling. And here we go. Here's the video for Wild Nature 1 to 3. Complete graphic novel and hardbacks. Excellent. Here we go.
Hi, I'm David Taylor, and this is the Kickstarter for Wild Nature, the Complete Collection. Wild Nature is a dystopian desperate drama set in a futuristic Miami. Imagine The Hunger Games meets The Running Man, but with animal masks, and you're pretty much there. Swan was the greatest of all time, and he's trying to retire from the sport, but the sport doesn't want to let him go. He's trying to leave his life of violence behind, while his fans and his friends are trying to pull him back into it. And the only person that believes he can change blames him for the death of her brother. So what are you backing? First off, there's Wild Nature 3, which is the final book in the series. It's about 128 pages in hardback, full colour, and it will complete the collection for anybody who's been around for the previous 2 campaigns. And then for everybody else who's maybe come a little bit later to the party or who just wants to have a really nice collected edition, there's the paperback version, which is all 250 plus pages of story, full colour again, in a really nice tome that you can take anywhere with you. Along with that, you'll be able to get the risograph print, which is a really cool old school printing technology. It's really bright and colourful, almost very neon, which is very in keeping with the book. I'll be doing some commissions at letter A4 size, and I'll be doing some postcard sketches. And of course, you can also buy my other books. So why am I on Kickstarter? Well, I need your help to get the book finished. I've done most of the art, I've done the lettering, I need some help with getting the colouring done, and I need to get the book printed and into your hands. And that's why I need your backing. And along with that, what I love most about Kickstarter is it's giving me a direct connection to you. When I did my first book in Kickstarter back in 2019, I didn't have a fan base at all. And by the end of that campaign, The Grave, I had people that were following my work. I had people that were excited for what I was making. So that's it. That's Wild Nature. That's what this Kickstarter is all about. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thanks so much for looking at the page. I can't wait to see what you back, and I'm looking forward to getting the book finished and into your hands. Thank you.
Oh, look at that. Fantastic. Wow.
Thanks.
How nervous were you doing the video?
I mean, I think that was take 44 or something. So 2 minutes lasts forever when you're watching yourself back. That's true as well. I don't like being on camera like most human beings, but I've gotten used to it. I used to write scripts and try and follow them quite closely. And I just try and put what I want to talk about, and I'll make it work when I edit it anyway. Put some banging electro music behind it, and then that'll usually cover up any of the joins.
Very 80s, the music.
Oh yeah, big. I mean, the whole thing of Wild Nature is trying to be really. It's imagine if the 80s was the current day. Is my whole kind of vibe with it.
Yeah.
One of my comics pals, Fraser Campbell, called it retro futurist, which I thought was a really good way of looking at it, because it is. It's like, how can I take that 80s vibe, but suggest that's what the future would look like, and that's the whole book.
Excellent. How's it feel now that you've successful number 1, number 2 equally successful, 3's just around the corner. How's it feel to finally sort of that's it? His story is done.
Emotional.
Or is it not? There might be more things to go. Do you feel a sense of relief? Oh yeah, that's fine. Now I can focus on going down different avenues, or is it like a little bit of a bittersweet moment? where you've been spending so much time with the person, it's kind of losing, saying goodbye to your best friend.
Yeah, there will be a few. I've been a bit emotional on a few times working through the last few pages. I love these characters. Like they reflect so many different parts of me, and I think about it's been 3 years I've been working on it, and obviously a lot has happened in the world in those 3 years. There's been a lot of stuff, across the world, and personally a lot of stuff's happened. I've had multiple jobs. I've had issues with my family, it's kind of health and you go through all that, and it's so there's a lot of that in the book. When I look back at it, I can see all those moments. And then I look at it, I'm really proud of it. I'd never expected it would be what it is. I didn't think it would grow the way it did for me. I've learned so much by working on it, and I've met amazing people because of it. And
thanks.
I mean, we jest, but no, it's been great meeting like you. Lots of other people who do podcasts. It's been amazing getting to talk to people who love comics. And Wild Nature's opened that door for a lot of that conversation. Yeah, there's been a lot of that. So yeah, it's bittersweet, but mostly there's the excitement of knowing that I've got things next. I've got my other books in mind, so that's lovely because it's been, when you're in the middle of inking page 70 out of 128, it's been another one. And it's been a bit of that. I've said to my girlfriend a bunch of times, I can't wait till I'm done with this. I can't wait till it's almost like, you're not going to say that when you're done. And she's right. I'm almost done with it. I picked the last page, sent it over to my editor, and there was that catch in my throat. I was just like, oh, this is, and it's like, I'm really proud of the last few lines. I'm like, that's everything I've wanted to say about the stories in that last page. And I was like, so it's hard. It's hard, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what people think about it.
It's kind of like, because the book's been your constant companion for the last 3 years. It's been your place where you can rant and rave about the perceived injustices and the difficulties of life, and you've had that book there as your constant companion to pour all this energy into, and now it's done. It's, I totally can see it. I can totally see how hard it must be to gratifying that, yay, I've done it. Proud that it's complete and you've hit the points you wanted to hit. But also, what do you do tomorrow when there's no more pages to ink?
It's a difficult question. It's a difficult question. Like, what do I do? Like, that relaxing thing I keep hearing about sounds amazing.
What is that relaxing thing all about?
What's that? Like, do I like making sure I go to the gym regularly again? That'd be nice. Do I focus on? No, I mean, the reality is I'm definitely going to take a few months of not doing much. I know what my next couple of stories I'm going to work on. I'm going to be a bit more gentle about working into that and not put myself under quite as much as pressure as I keep doing with stuff. I basically done a book every year for the last 5 years. They're all big books. I see other people doing, and this is no disrespect to them because they're often paying artists, whatever, but they're doing a 32-page book once a year. And there's me knocking out in succession 128, a 32-page short, a 72-page book, an 88-page book, and now a 128-page book, and a remaster of an 150-page story. I'm like, yeah, I think I need to chill out.
It's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, let's not forget, a lot of Kickstarter creators have a paying gig, as much as we would love comic books to pay our bills and stuff. We also have our we have our secret identities. I'm a mild-mannered postman. No, I'm not a postman, but still, we have our secret identities that we have to do, and no matter how hard we try, there will be times when those identities have to. They don't just stop at 5 o'clock where you can then sit down and think, I'm going to have something to eat, I'm going to watch a bit of telly, and then I'm going to work on my book. If you're like mine, sometimes it gets to 5 o'clock and I'm still working, and then I'm eating at 6 o'clock and I've got to eat quick because I've got to finish my market. And so
I come back from if I've been to the gym, I come back. I've got an hour of drawing before I have to start thinking about getting ready for bed. If I'm traveling, I was down in London for my other half's birthday, the iPad came with me. I'm drawing on the train. She wants to have a nap. I'm drawing while she's having a nap. And and I love it. I love making comics and I love drawing, but it becomes this like, and I'm sure it's like the same for you with like the podcasts and some of the other things you've got going on. You end up just like it becomes its own thing, and like you feel like, well, I've got free time, I should do something with it, as opposed to I've got free time. Yes, I'm going to do nothing.
Exactly.
I know you must. I know you empathise.
Absolutely. For me, I see so many books, whether it be on the pod or whether it's for Comic Crusaders, that when it comes down to sitting down and reading comics for me, I'm like, I can't be bothered with that. don't show me another comic book, for Christ's sakes, So there are books that pierce that veil, thankfully, that kind of get it there. Right, time before we start looking at some of the art, of which there is a really interesting take on a bunny girl. What can I say? I like sexy girls. What can I say? Time for one of our ads. I can't remember what we had last time, but I think we should speak to this guy and see if we can get some McFarlane toys for you. I definitely think it should be a thing. It's Crisis in the Toyverse. Have it. Crisis in the Toyverse. I can see a range of toys based on your books for sure. I am so there.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah, I think a whole series of like the animals would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Time to have a look at some of the art and also some of the words. I'm going to start with this one, which is I've used for our backdrop. I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, love this. This is one of the art that you sent across. When I flicked through it, this is one of the ones I stopped up. I was like, wow, how gorgeous is that? Absolutely
Thanks so much.
Perfect.
There was a very when you were saying about Frank Miller, the one for this, it's John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson.
Of course it is. Why didn't I see that as soon as you said it? Of course.
Yeah. I think actually the pose that Swan's got, the main character, I think there's a Romita Jr. sketch of Wolverine that I think I saw where I was like, oh, I love that. And I did my own version of it with him holding the mask. But yeah, Romita Jr., Janson, they are like formative influences for me. Like I remember reading Punisher Warzone. And that art in it was just like, it's just visceral. Everything about it is like perfect combination of talent.
Are you looking at his current stuff on Spider-Man?
I've seen a few bits of it. I think I generally don't read much Big Two. It doesn't really speak to me. Some good stuff. I mean, but what I've seen of his work in it, he definitely looks like he's much more energized than he was at DC, and he's being a bit more playful. I think the problem is so I believe he is the single in the kind of as a living artist, he's the greatest visual storyteller out there. There is no one with his ability for clarity, for impact, for action, emotion. He's just adept to everything. And I know he's got that really blocky style, which obviously you can see my art I really love. And I know some people that puts it off and they like to call him lazy and things, and that he's phoning it in. Like, dude's like nearly 60, he's in his 60s. And he's like knocking out 2 pages a day. And like they're all sound. You follow everything that's going on in it. Guy's amazing. So sorry, long answer. What I've seen of his stuff, I've really enjoyed looking at. I think I've read a couple of the issues. I thought he looked good. I don't think the coloring suits his work at all.
Yeah,
I don't like that the kind of shaped coloring. I think it just doesn't suit his style. But he looks. It's been much more engaged than when I was reading his Batman stuff at DC, which just looked. He's like he was phoning it in.
Yeah, I think some, and then I suppose this harkens back a little bit to what we were saying about Joel Jones. I think certain creators fit certain characters, and as much as I'm with you on this, by the way. I think Johnny Meters Jr., although if he's in his 60s, can we still call him Junior at this point? I have no idea. I think I agree wholeheartedly. He is one of the guys for me, and he made me buy Superman for the first time in years when he took over that book. But again, editorial-wise, story-wise, it wasn't the Superman that you'd expect. And then it doesn't look like Clark because he's got like the big Italian looks going on and the cowboy boots. And you think, well, is that not just Peter Parker in glasses? You know, but then he goes back to Peter Parker, he goes Spider-Man. You know, and then I mean, I remember him on X-Men. That's how, back around the 180s or something like that. You know, and the blocky style was there. It wasn't as prominent, I suppose. I agree with you. I think John Romita Jr. is an absolute fantastic storyteller, absolutely, without a shadow of doubt. And I love Klaus Janson. He drew the scariest Batman story I've ever read, The Legends of the Dark Knight. Written by Grant Morrison. And it was Gothic. It was called. Oh man, scary as the upside down bat sign, the dude with no shadow, the clock also to the one time. I was like, whoa.
That's like he's really underrated. He's one of my favorites as well. I've tried to learn a lot from looking at his inking style, but he's great. He's another like really sound storyteller. You know, you look at like the stuff he did with Frank Miller and Daredevil.
Yeah.
Towards the latter part of that run, a lot of it is Jansen doing a lot of the actual sequential. So yeah, so that's a big part of that image. Is I wanted that kind of vibe, that real heaviness of the rain.
Yeah. The rain seems to be quite a prominent feature. We've got another one going on. There we go. He's had enough here. He's like, right, no masks. He's like, he's stepping up to the plate and saying, right, we're not playing games anymore. This is it.
Yeah. There's a whole thing because like the killers inside the story, you know, the combatants in Deathsport, they all wear animal masks. Obviously, masks are a really obvious metaphor for like who you are, who you present yourself to be.
Yeah.
And there's some subversion going on about what the mask means to Swan and what's really going on. And it is on this page, and it's small enough it won't spoil anything, I think. So
sorry.
Don't worry. I said it's no problem to see it. It probably wouldn't make sense out of context anyway. But I love that kind of like I wanted that big dramatic moment. It's that moment when if you're watching a movie, the camera's swirling around him, the rain's coming down, and you're getting that kind of big moment, and then you know there's going to be chaos is about to follow, which there is. I really love that page, and that's very, that was kind of me stretching out, being more myself. I was thinking that I'm not trying to tell a story like anyone else. I'm not trying to make it look like anyone else. So like I thought, I've got 128 pages in this final volume. Let's let these moments breathe. If I was doing the first volume again, chances are I would be trying to jam as much as I could onto the page. Whereas now I'm like, I've got the space. No one else is stopping me. I'll just do it. Yeah. This fight scene can last 40 pages if I want. It doesn't.
That's the benefit of working Kickstarters and doing your own stuff. You don't have, I mean, yes, you have an editor, but you don't have a big corporation breathing down your neck saying, you can't do that. You've got to get in 22 pages. You can't do 24. Therefore, I'll lose a panel. And then that's condensing something. And that's when some sort of camera angle gets missed or movement from panel to panel gets missed. And reader looks at it and goes, wait, how did you get there? Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, and Claire, you know, Claire's a good editor. Like, there's not often that she says, like, there's no pressure for me to take stuff out. Actually, she tends to be like, you should probably add something in. I'm quite Spartan sometimes, and I like to get to the point quite quick. And sometimes there's been a couple of moments where it's like, and I've learned a lot from that. Like, let that moment breathe. You know, give that the whole page. Like, have a few things that let the reader be in that moment, because you're going to get in that sequence. There's a big fight scene right after it, a la here.
It's like I planned this.
So, yeah. And there's lots going on there. Although actually, there's not a huge amount of action. I think there's only like one specific thing happens with the headbutt. But again, it's that impression. There's lots going on. There's lots of motion. Yeah. So you need those moments before. So yeah, I love this page. I'm really proud of it. It was very 2000 AD when I like look back at it. That there's that you know the famous panel of Judge Dredd punching Judge Death. Series of Fist of
Yeah.
Dread. This is like the headbutt equivalent of it, I think.
Yeah,
So,
that is a good panel. That is a good panel. I, see, I know what you're saying about being the one sort of like true action scene in that, but that whole page from the top panel all the way down is all about movement, and it's like watching a choreographed fight in a movie, but you're getting to see it. You're essentially giving the reader the camera angles to say, right, this is the guy, there's the bad guy. Oh, look, he's happy. Boom, now he's kicked the crap out of him. And then, it sets up that premise that, you know what, the Swan is in his element here. This isn't him turning around and saying, oh, well, I don't really want to do it. This is him saying, yeah, bring it on, and I'm going to kick the crap out of you. And whilst I'm doing it, I'm going to smile. And that works brilliantly. So
yeah, he's enjoying himself, and there's even like lots of. I mean, I was enjoying myself too. Even like little details of Bird's beak getting broken when he gets headbutted. It's like little stuff like that is like really fun because you're like, what's going to make that feel really gnarly?
Yeah,
it's like the beak gets flattened the wrong way. You're like, yeah, that feels good.
Yeah, go for that.
Where we at?
Let's see. There's so the mask thing. I was kind of going through the art, and I was kind of. Oh, masks, yeah, I see it. And then I saw this panel, and I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I see it's a bunny. Yeah, I'm all right. And I didn't see any reference or whatever. I'm thinking, oh, okay. Because remember, I'm reading out of context just the same as everybody else. And then I came across the next one, which was like, I didn't twig straight away, but then absolutely saw it on the It's the bunny mask. It's her.
Yeah.
She's a bunny girl.
Yeah.
More fishnets, please, for bunny girls. Just saying.
Rabbit would not approve of that comment.
Well, would you not know? Well, don't dress like a bunny then.
There's a whole thing in volume 2 about that.
Oh man.
It's like one of the things that when I wrote her originally, she only appears really briefly in the first volume. But I love drawing her. Like, she's great. She's got a really good presence, and actually the mask works really well. And lots of people were really attracted to it. I just like the character. She's got like a real. She loves combat. She loves the fight. She loves the idea of like being gladiators. So there's like a whole relationship between her and Swan of kind of mutual respect that's there. But like in terms of it, I was thinking, what happens to women when they're typically in combat sports? They get objectified. And so there's a whole little mini plot within volume 2, which is about that. They're trying to design her a new uniform. And it's that how can you sexualize someone who is not being sexy? She's just there to beat the living shit out of people. Excuse my language. It's like, it's after 7. I can.
Yeah, you're fine. We'll send it later on in the day. It's fine.
But Rabbit's like, she's just like this really fun character to draw. And like to write her, she basically created her own voice. That was the weird thing. Like, I was just writing, it's like, oh, you're really funny. And like you say all these really kind of really bold things about she's confident, she knows she's good at what she does. And like you can see that she admires Swan, but she's not in any way deferential to him. She's like, so yeah, she's great to write. But I love this picture. I love the kind of the broken CRT vibe of it as well.
I like this picture, not particularly. Well, she looks great, of course, but what I like about the picture is the absolute 360-degree style change that you have when it comes to this character, and as you mentioned, the background and the kind of broken screen, versus the Swan character in the middle of the darkness fighting and having blood all over the place. It's such a talent to be able to contrast characters like that. How did you manage to kind of acquire that skill?
Boredom is the main reason.
What a simple answer for such a long-winded question.
I get bored really quick, so I like playing with stuff, and I do a lot of concept art. I don't ever draw anything, certainly not big like pin-up pieces. I never draw them with the intention of them being for a thing. It's just how I kind of relax and express things and figure ideas out. And like I really enjoy drawing Rabbit of all the characters. Like all the masks really easy to draw, but you can put a lot of character into it. So yeah, so I start experimenting things. I might see a picture somewhere. I think that'd be a really cool thing if that was a drawing. But sometimes it's that there's a mood. And like for the mood, like I then try and draw in what I think should be that mood. And so I thought this is very kind of laid back. There's that Miami vibe with the kind of those colors. And I thought, okay, so the whole kind of retro futurist thing with the 80s vibe to the whole story anyway. Let's play into that. Because Miami, there's 80s. Well, she was in Miami Beach and she's just been shooting targets, or a person in this case. Yeah. She's enjoying herself. She loves it. She loves the fight. So yeah, I want the style to be a bit looser, kind of more relaxed, a bit more open. Yeah, this is someone having a good time.
Cool. Excellent. I'm very, very impressed. 250 pages. That's a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
Of a relatively short time. Yeah, don't would you take at least a couple of hours off?
Yeah, maybe not. I'll take a little break, and then I'll probably just start working the next thing. So
cool. Well, we will look forward to that. The Kickstarter goes live May 13th. All right. So, what time on May 13th?
Probably in the UK, probably about lunchtime, so about 12, 1 o'clock. Haven't quite decided. I'll see how I feel when I wake up, how nervous I am.
Oh, fair enough. So 12 is 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. on the eastern coast of the United States. For Central, it's an hour earlier than that. And if you want to go mountain and then Pacific, dude, work it out. I'm done with time zones. I know more about time zones than Doctor Who at the minute. So
it'll be live when you wake up, basically. That's what I'd say. It'll be live when you wake up.
There you go. Cool. Right. So if you want to check out the Kickstarter, and you should, because the work's fantastic, there it is. That is the link that you need to go to. Yes, I know it's a long link. No, there's nothing I can do about it. Other than, of course, you can go to Kickstarter, type Wild Nature 1 to 3 complete graphic, and it'll take you straight to the page. Absolutely, it will. So, it's there as well. You also have some Substack going on, right?
Yep, I do. So I post some. We'll see how regular I do it. I don't want to annoy people by messaging them all the time. But I'm posting stuff like making of, post some little things about what I'm enjoying, what I'm seeing out there. But really importantly, you can get some free comics. So when you sign up and follow my Substack, you get Volume 1 of Wild Nature, the PDF, totally free. You get previews of The Grave, and you get a preview of Decades as well. So it's well worth your time just pop along having a look.
Cool. A great way to actually kind of immerse yourself in the story, and then go over to the Kickstarter and get yourselves the real I am. Hold on, do I need to go? I need to go big picture for this. There we go.
Yeah. Wait a second. So these are the hardbacks, which are just here. So it's Volume 1, and hang on, there we go. There we are.
Yeah, cool.
Getting disoriented with my own webcam. So that's Volume 1 and 2. Volume 3 will be a hardback, which will be about the same thickness as these together. It'll be the last chance to get the hardbacks, because I'm not going to reprint them after this campaign. It'll be the softback collected edition. We'll replace these. So if you want to get them, I've only got about 20 full bundles left. And I'm anticipating and really hoping they go fast, because that'd be a nice thing to do. Be nice to kind of send the series out in a high, but they're gorgeous. Comics Printing UK prints. Oh, actually, there's the Risograph print.
Hang on. There it is. All right, yeah, cool. I love that. That looks gorgeous. That, well done.
Yeah. Have I got the other one? No, I don't. I've got books everywhere. I'm not.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. But that'll be the last chance to get those. There'll be the paperback, which is collected edition, which will be like 250 pages plus. You can get my other books if you want them. They're available too. And then I'm also doing commissions like you saw in the video. So cool. I think I've got 4 slots for commissions. I can't remember which, but
cool.
I don't do much traditionally, so they are quite unique.
Commissions, so people can ask you to draw characters that they like?
Yeah. I'm quite comfortable. I've had someone ask me to draw a demon one time. One person asked to draw me and their dog in the style I've drawn in Decades. And some people just draw me one of your characters and they're happy with that. But it's quite cool when someone gives you a challenge, like draw this demon. I was like, I've never drawn that sort of character before. Let's make it work.
I was at Thought Bubble a few years ago, and someone had asked one of the artists there to draw a Venom picture, and I was amazed to find I saw the artist go, yeah, we can do that for you. It'll be whatever, and it'll be ready for you in about however. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm looking around and I'm checking out the stuff. And I looked back at the guy who's doing the commission, and he's there Googling what Venom looks like. I'm like, how that? I'm thinking, if someone, I don't know, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I thought everyone knew what Venom looks like. Big teeth, white spider, that's it, right?
Yeah, just make it easy. It was funny. There was a guy. I don't know what their gender was because they didn't identify one way or the other. I couldn't see the pictures either. A person, and I only say that because I literally couldn't tell you. There was no way to know the photo of them. I got a text message from them on Instagram saying, "Do you do commissions?" I was like, "Well, I might for the right person, for the right commission. And I don't generally like doing them." And then they came and they wanted to draw their pet. I'm like, right, look through my Instagram. It's like stuff like what's on the background. And what planet am I going to draw your pet? They were quite offended, and they're like, "Well, will you recommend someone? You must know another artist." Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird world doing commissions. That's probably why I don't do them. You have those sorts of conversations. We draw a dog, and like the backer, like she's lovely, Heather, who asked me to draw a dog, was so cool, and the dog was beautiful, so I didn't mind drawing that. But probably otherwise, not going to draw your pet. No.
So there's an ongoing running joke on the pods and on the reviews about fishnets because of Black Canary and Satana, right? So one of my friends over in the States, one of the cons they did in Boston, asked this artist to do a Batgirl putting on fishnets and sent it over to me. And it's like, class, it's brilliant. But just what you think of, isn't it? I didn't ask for it. They said, "Oh, we're going to get you a Batgirl putting on fishnets picture." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I've got a lot of appreciation for the pin-up style, things like that. They can be really funny. But what I want to see more is like male superheroes getting the same treatment.
Yeah, I get
hilarious.
Let's
get Namor. Let's get Namor and fishnets.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily that I'd be. Depends who draws it, I suppose. But it's funny.
I can see Jay Lee doing that. Jay Lee with his really lean cut, sort of like curved style going on. Yeah, I could see something like that.
He'd go to town. He'd go to town on rendering that. And then I think you should get Rob Liefeld to do it as well, because at the very least it'd be nothing but entertainment.
Liefeld can't draw knees, never mind fishnets.
That's what makes it so wonderful. So this is a really bitchy comment. Rob Liefeld was AI art before there was AI art. He seems like a nice enough man. He seems like a nice man, and I don't want to be horrible. I know he's got a lot of fans out there, but his art is definitely like someone doing an impression of someone who can draw.
I will say right now, and I've said before, that I am not a huge Rob Liefeld fan. He's absolutely great self-promotion, absolutely fantastic. And when it comes to comics, he knows his stuff. But then I enjoy talking about Kickstarters that are successful, and then people deliver on the promises. If one of the guys, Almega, who runs Comic Crusaders, if I mention Liefeld to him, he goes apoplectic, still waiting for Brigade number 1.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is like Rob Liefeld, who's supposed to be like an industry giant. Well, he was at one point. Thank God things have changed since then.
He's still, respect him. He is basically by driving forward for Image, and like Image would not have happened without him. Without him, the industry would not be what it is right now, which is like the best it's ever been, in my opinion. At my relative age, with all the comics I've read, I think this is a true golden era for like comics coming out.
Especially from an indie Kickstarter point of view, definitely. Yeah. I think it's kind of the tables have massively turned because the corporations that own the big two are absolutely in hold steady mode more than Stan Lee and Paul Levitz ever were at Marvel and DC respectively. They're pretty much, this is the ship, we're not moving from that. Especially when you've got companies like Disney who who banned the Punisher skull because it's scary. You know, so I
Yeah,
agree with you. I think it's a massive golden age for independent books and for
yeah.
Kickstarters. Comics are more accessible thanks to the big two,
Hmm.
absolutely. But sooner enough, so sometimes you get sick of the dessert. You want something for main course, right?
Yeah, I think with the big two as well, it's like learning to thank your captor for bringing you food. Um, that's kind of how they've kind of held the industry hostage in so many ways,
Stockholm
and they've
syndrome.
yeah, and they've regressed in so many ways as well. Like,
Mm,
and it's not. I mean, I just don't really read that. And occasionally something will come up, and I'll really enjoy it, but broadly, like that's just not for me. And if
yeah,
people enjoy it, that's cool. I'm not judging it or anything. It's
yeah,
just not for me.
cool.
But I do think when you look at like all the other stuff that's coming out, it's a tragedy that we see, and I know why they do it, like comics news sites, talking about some new storyline in whatever reboot there's just been for the ninth time in the last 5 years,
Mm,
instead of an amazing indie book that would genuinely
yeah,
blow people's minds or inspire them or throw them. And then selfishly, like for me, for like lots of the people I'm friends with, like brilliant comic creators who are like doing awesome work. And if it was made into like a TV show, people would be screaming about it
mm,
and they don't get it reviewed. But Wolverine issue 8054,
yeah.
where he basically gets re-de-aged and then de-deaded and re-deaded, and then he's got like his daughter who what that it's like yeah it's just
There's
no no
two
no no.
two of them now, just so you know. There's two X-23s kicking around. Um, you know what? You make some absolutely valid points. And the annoying thing is when a big company like DC or Marvel then start their big event, you know what? They suck you all in again. You know, it's like the current one is Amazing Spider-Man. Someone's going to die on the 25th and 50th anniversary of Gwen Stacy. Who's it going to be? And now you're hooked, and you're buying Amazing Spider-Man, and you're like, oh man, this is a guest filling artist. It doesn't look great. Oh, it doesn't read great. But you're hooked because you want to know. Oh man, sucks being a fan sometimes. I tell you.
It
Um,
does.
are you going to
Sorry, go
Thought
on.
Bubble?
I will be at Thought Bubble. Yes, I have my table booked. I have my hotel booked. I should have Wild Nature with me actually, which I'm excited about. So yeah, I'm gonna be at Thought Bubble. Going big for it. Really excited.
Good. I'm going to make my way down Thought Bubble this year.
Oh,
So
fab! It'll be great to meet you in person.
we'll hang out and have a coffee or whatnot.
Yeah,
And
you can bring a coffee. I can bring a coffee to you. There's the mid con party as well. Didn't
I'm
get to it
there.
last year, bunch of drama, but I'd love to go to that too.
Yeah, it's my goal this year to get the Thought Bubble. I've been once before, and it was very much a walk round and then leave. I
Uh,
didn't stay so I think this time I'm going to like get there. I think I might be stopping over one of the nights and just stay entrenched and just go for it. So that's kind of that's the
it's
plan.
so huge. It's huge. It's densely packed. Walking in is like sensory overload. You'll be overstimulated after the first hour, and then
That
you need to
that
stop, just have a wee
that
break,
yeah.
then start moving around the tables you want to catch up on.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that freaks me out. Big crowds don't do. Anyway, that's fine. David, been fantastic speaking to you again.
Nice.
Your work is gorgeous. It looks fantastic. Massive well done for your big success on this series. There's a Kickstarter again for you, everyone to go and check it out. You can pause the pod while you write it down. Don't do it when I look just stupid. Thanks. And for more hints, tips, preview stuff, free stuff, there's the Substack website as well. There you go. Cool.
Thanks.
Excellent. David, you've been fantastic. Absolutely enjoyed
Thank you.
talking to you, sir. Well done.
Thanks.
Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favourite shows, including Crisis in the Toyverse, for all your toys and figures work. And of course, we've been talking about old school comics. There's only one place to go. That's the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. The recent one, the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot from Planet X is a must-see. All right, there we go. David, thanks again. I really do appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You are more than welcome. I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as always, Adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.